So guess what? The NAIA college banned transgender athletes from women's sports. It happened. A National Athletics Association for smaller private colleges and universities around the U.S. adopted a new policy on Monday that bans transgender athletes from women's sports. The National Association, there it is believed to be the first national collegiate athletic governing body to adopt such a policy. They did so despite having no knowledge of transgender athletes competing in its postseasons to this point. That's according to CBS Sports. However, all athletes may participate in NAIA-sponsored male sports, regardless of what gender they were assigned at birth. So there you go.
Okay, and you know what? This is what's important about that. You cannot say that the purpose is hate for trans people or being anti-trans, given that they're allowing them to compete in a category where they have no natural biological advantage.
That's right.
If it's not about if it's about anti-trans hate and not about keeping women's sports fair for women, why would they allow it on the other side? It's not about trans. It's about women being able to win in women's sports.
Oh, I do. You're right. I got it. You were loud. You were proud. You told everyone that you were here. So deal with it. And that's what they did. They dealt with it.
Yes.
That's what they did.
Yes.
Next thing you know, they're going to ban horses from human races.
That's really unfair if they identify as a human.
Well, whining that it's just not fair to put humans up against horse in a race. That's just, horses are people. Just ask any psychotically obsessed horse owner.
Yeah. I saw once this thing where you had like an animal psychic, and the woman calls in the animal psychic, and the animal psychic's telling her, oh, well, she likes the other horse, but not at feeding time. And afterwards, this specimen of genius, the woman who had paid for this, goes, yeah, that was amazing. I just thought of, you remember Sam Kinison, who used to do that bit about dog psychiatry?
No.
Where he was like, oh, I want to get in on some of that money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how could you be that stupid to think that a pet psychic is really talking to them?
So the NAIA oversees about 83,000 student athletes at about 250 schools that are not part of the NCAA. Its adoption of the policy only applies to the NAIA, and the NCAA rules allow transgender athletes to compete if they adhere to the guidelines of their international sport governing bodies. Athletes governed by the organization will only be allowed to compete in women's sport if they were assigned female at birth, according to the new policy. And that passed with a 20-0 vote.
Wow.
20-0.
Good for them.
Such athletes can participate in team workouts, practices, and other activities, but not in interscholastic competitions. We are unwavering in our support of fair competition for our student athletes, said the president. In recent years, dozens of conservative state legislators around the country have passed laws banning transgender students from participating in sports consistent with their gender identity. Last month, 16 former current student athletes sued the NCAA over its policies on transgender athletes, meaning that they allow them.
Right.
They claimed it violated their Title IX rights by allowing transgender women Leah Thomas to compete at the national championships in 2022. Wow, Leah Thomas should reach higher by entering the Children's Olympic boxing tournament coming up.
I think she's suing to enter that.
Bam! Take that, little Susie. She should do the Miss America deadlift competition next year, I think.
Yep.
We've seen that. That year, again, this is nothing.
Yeah, there was that guy. It was in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Where he was just like fully pumped guy
I am
with
a
a beard.
woman.
He just walked in. I win.
I win. That year, Thomas became the first transgendered athlete to win the NCAA Division I title after finishing first in the women's 500-yard freestyle with a time of 4:33.24. Emma Went, who placed second, had a time of 4:34, while Erica Sullivan finished third at 4:35. Bans like this, so this is from a Women's Sports Foundation. They say bans like this are harmful for all athletes.
Oh, God.
I wouldn't say all athletes.
Oh, God.
Trans athletes deserve a pathway to inclusion, and policies that regulate competition should be reasonable and evidence-based. We encourage ongoing and respectful dialogue to achieve inclusion at all levels of sports. Well, I guess they voted 20-0 against you.
Yes.
Again, this isn't anti-trans ladies. This couldn't be more. I have trans fans. They come out to the show.
Yep.
There's a lot of trans women who don't go along with this.
Yes. And their voices are silenced.
And that's exactly right.
Gays against groomers.
They
got completely shut down.
That's right.
And that's why you only hear this one voice.
You only hear one voice.
And I don't even on the best interview we ever did on this, we had Buck Angel on, who was the first trans man to get testosterone treatment in the state of California. And he represents a lot of trans people who understand that this is actually bad for them.
Yes.
It is undermining acceptance of trans people because now people think this is what they all want.
This does for trans acceptance what the carpet bombing of Gaza does for anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
It's not good.
Exactly. Because people now think before, whereas I think a reasonable person would have thought trans rights mean anti-employment discrimination. Which I think most people would support.
Of course.
And now they think it means they want to go be able to beat the shit out of women in an MMA fight.
That's right. That's what this means. The National Women's Law Center says this: the decision to ban trans women from sports is unacceptable. It's blatant discrimination that harms not only trans women, but all women. I don't think most women agree with you on that.
This is the crazy... well, I'll let you
finish. Go ahead.
Well, this is
this got noted. Can I just read the note?
Yeah.
So this got community noted. Trans women are not banned from sports. They are free to participate in the appropriate sex category, including male athletes and women's sports. Including male athletes and women's sports is disputed based on discrimination against women and girls. So go ahead.
This is what they're trying to retreat to. And originally they just came out. So now they realize how much society is against them. It doesn't matter what you tell people. Poll after poll after poll after poll, 70 to 90% of people are against having trans women in women's sports. So now they try to lump in women because they're trying to freak you out about what it would take to establish that they're a woman at birth. I think you just need a birth certificate. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. They try to suggest there are going to be all kinds of invasive procedures to find out. Fucking birth certificate will establish it. No, it's not going to require a gynecological exam. Then, of course, they try to hide behind black people, as they very often will. They'll use them as a shield for an agenda that has nothing to do with black people. Black people don't support in any greater numbers than anybody else. Well, in the past, a lot of times, they've accused black women of being too masculine. I have not heard in the post-civil rights era of black women not being allowed to compete because they were accused of being too masculine. I've never heard of that. So they're trying to lump those things together. So now you're a racist if you don't want trans women in sports. But I consider those all good signs because the arguments are getting increasingly desperate and untenable. They did a hearing a few months ago where Riley Gaines testified, and they had a woman she was a lawyer for an organization that advocates for this. And it was one of the most remarkably stupid things I've seen somebody say. I got to say, with the track record of lawyers lately, Sunny Hostin talking about the eclipse being caused by, she's a lawyer, being caused by climate change. This idea that lawyer equals smart, I'm starting to question it. This lawyer literally said the words, we have to get away from the stereotype that women are slower and aren't as strong as men. How the fuck do you even say something like that? It's a stereotype. It's an unfair stereotype.
It's a wow. Okay. Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Vancouver, British Columbia. First show sold out. Denver, Colorado, Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, and Minneapolis. We're coming back to Minneapolis. If you couldn't get tickets last time, there'll be some available this time. We're doing 2 shows. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.